chap's voice was deep and sonorous, and the girl couldn't quite make out his accent. It was American, yes, but there was something else mixed in with it. Casting a quick, disdainful glance in his direction, she got the impression in the glimmer of moonlight that he was dark-skinned. Ah, that might explain it. There were plenty of black GIs in the US Army, after all. But she wasn't going to hang around to find out if she was right. She'd set off down the road, rolling her eyes in annoyance as she heard the drunk GI's voice raised in protest. "But look at her, she's a little beauty, and she's got spunk. You saw her face in the moonlight? Ain't she the prettiest thing you've seen all night?" "I'm surprised you can see anything at all, you're so pie-eyed. Time to sleep it off, I reckon. Now come on." The sober Yank had grunted in exasperation, and when the girl dared to risk a furtive look over her shoulder, she saw he was half dragging his stumbling pal away, thankfully in the opposite direction. Well, that was a relief. Within moments she'd forgotten all about the incident as she'd made her way through the unlit streets, and she slid back deliciously into the glorious fantasy. It hadn't been a fantasy, though, had it? It had been real. As she turned the corner and began to walk past the bomb site, for once she hadn't feared the eerie tentacles of the dead that seemed to reach out for her in the dark. The grandiose, emotive tones of Wagner's overture to Tristan and Isolde rang once more inside her skull, filling her head so that there was room for nothing else. The new, much-heralded pas de deux had been a triumph, the tumultuous applause reaching into her soul. This was what she had dreamt of, strived so hard for all her young life. Her male principal dance partner, Sean, had smiled at her so proudly as he'd shown her off to the audience, standing back with a slight bow as she dipped in a curtsy again and again. The stiff netting skirt of her tutu had bobbed up and down as she accepted the bouquet that was presented her and picked up the individual flowers that were thrown onto the stage. The enchantment of the intertwining of music and ballet, her most beloved form of dance, still burned in her heart as she made her way home, the magic rising like a fountain in her breast and lifting her soul to some mystical heights. The street and the darkness melted away, and her very being was lost in some other place where grace and movement reigned. She wasn't sure how or when the sensation came over her that she was being watched, dashing her other world to smithereens. Only seconds later, she began to hear footsteps behind her. Was she being followed? She quickened her pace, heartbeat suddenly racing. It was probably just some innocent passer-by, someone she knew even, hurrying home. But she didn't like the way the footsteps were speeding up, getting closer. She forced herself to turn her head, but without slowing her pace. She was shocked and alarmed to make out the form of what could only be the drunk GI lumbering after her, though he didn't seem so drunk now. He was a big man with a long stride, and though he was unsteady, he was gaining on her. "Leave her be, Chuck." She saw the other one then, loping some way behind, bent double and clutching his stomach as if he'd been on the end of a hefty punch. "You know I like a bit of spirit in a girl," the first soldier roared in reply. "It'll be fun having her, and you ain't gonna stop me." "Run, miss, run," the second soldier called out with a gasp as he tried in vain to catch up. She didn't need telling twice. She turned her head forward again and fled. She knew she was fleet of foot, fast, her muscles strong. The devil would never catch her. The gap was widening as she flew along now past the bomb site, and soon she'd be among the labyrinth of narrow back streets she knew like the back of her hand. She'd lose him in seconds. He'd never be able to follow her in the blackout, and she'd be safely indoors, leaving him lost and defeated in the dark. Nearly at the surviving houses, heart thundering, breath burning in her lungs. Her foot caught on a paving slab that had cracked and lifted in the bombing raid that had obliterated the street. She felt herself falling, but it happened so quickly and she couldn't stop it. She put out her hands, but pain seared through her ankle before she made contact with the pavement, her palms stinging as they slapped on the ground.